You were there for every single second of it. You saw your first sunrise over a world that looked much different than it does today. You felt the raw, biting cold of your first prehistoric winter. You were a living, breathing human being, learning to navigate a landscape filled with deadly predators that were often 10 times your size. Yet, if you try to reach back into your mind and find those moments today, you will find nothing but a vast, silent void. This isn't a glitch in your system. It isn't because you were too young to understand the world around you. In fact, it is a deliberate, cold-blooded survival strategy executed by your brain. Think of your memory as a primal ledger, a record book that only keeps what is absolutely necessary for you to stay alive. While you were busy being a baby, your brain decided that the version of you that crawled on the floor was a liability to the version of you that needed to become a hunter. To turn you into someone who could survive the world's deadliest predators, your brain had to burn the tapes of your infancy. I explain things simply. Today, we discover the brutal reason why your brain deleted your childhood. To understand the deletion, we have to look at why human beings are built so differently from the rest of the animal kingdom. We've often wondered why human babies can't do anything, compared to a baby horse that walks within hours or a baby shark ready to hunt. The answer is our massive brains. Because our heads are so large, we have to be born unfinished, or we wouldn't survive the birth process at all. This means that for the first few years of your life, your brain is in a state of chaotic, explosive growth called high neurogenesis. You are growing millions of new neural connections every second, but there is a high price for this incredible speed. Imagine trying to build a permanent stone monument while the ground beneath it is undergoing a constant, massive earthquake. Your brain is so focused on building the hardware for your future survival, developing your motor skills, learning how to identify fathers, and discovering how to stay clean without modern soap, that it simply doesn't have the stability to maintain the software of your long-term memories. Every time a new layer of neurons is added to expand your capacity for logic, it physically overwrites the circuits that stored the raw sensory data of your infancy. In the world of ancient humans, your brain didn't care if you remembered your first smile. It only cared that you developed the neural pathways to run, hide, and recognize the exact frequency of a stalking leopard's growl. Your childhood was sacrificed so that your survival could begin. There is a second, even deeper reason for the void in your mind. Coding incompatibility. Have you ever tried to open an old computer file that was written in a language that no longer exists? Your modern computer just sees it as junk data. This is exactly what happened to your early memories. We know that ancient humans talked before language existed through a complex system of grunts, hand gestures, and emotional frequencies. As a baby, your brain recorded the world in this exact primal way. You didn't have words for hunger, fear, or safety. You only had the raw, overwhelming sensory feeling of the moment. You understood the world through smell, which is why ancient humans greeted each other by smelling, and through the warmth of the tribe. But around the age of 3 or 4, your brain underwent a radical transformation. You learned language. You started to categorize the universe using symbols and words. Once your brain switched to this new language-based operating system, the old feeling-based memories of your infancy became unreadable. The primal ledger realized that these old files were taking up valuable space but couldn't be processed by the new, logical adult mind. To keep your system running fast, which was essential when you had to coordinate with others to hunt animals 10 times your size, your brain hit the delete button. This is the same mechanism that makes you forget your dreams to prevent memory contamination. Your brain clears the board so you don't confuse the helpless feelings of a baby with the reality of a grown warrior. Why would evolution design a brain that deletes its own history? Because for our ancestors, memory was a tool for survival, not for nostalgia. In the prehistoric world, ancient humans survived deadly winters and constant starvation because they were hyper-focused on the now. A human infant is the most vulnerable thing in the existence of the planet. We know that in ancient times, children were often breastfed for up to 7 years. This means for nearly a decade, you were completely dependent on the protection of the tribe. During this time, you had no privacy. You lived in a world where you slept on the bare ground, or even slept in trees to avoid predators. You were in constant terror every time you were out of your mother's sight. If you remembered the sheer intensity of that helplessness, The raw trauma of being a tiny, naked creature in a world of giants and stalking predators. It would be a psychological burden. You would grow up to be a traumatized adult, constantly haunted by the weird feelings of your own past vulnerability. Infantile amnesia is a biological mercy. It wipes away the trauma of being defenseless so you can wake up as a confident, capable hunter. Your brain deletes the victim to save the warrior. Ancient human children lived in a protected zone much longer than we do today. They didn't sleep alone, they slept in shifts, and they were always surrounded by the sounds of the fire and the communal breathing of the tribe. This collective protection allowed their brains to focus entirely on growth instead of recording long-term data. They didn't need to remember where the safe water was because prehistoric elders held that knowledge for them. But as you reached age 5, 6, or 7, the age when breastfeeding typically ended, you had to join the adult world. This was the moment of the Great Reset. Suddenly, you had to learn how ancient humans actually created dogs or how to count days using the moon. You had to learn how to stay clean without soap and how to handle hunger without a grocery store. The brain had to shift from receiver mode to actor mode. This shift is so radical that it requires a complete purge of the old infant data to ensure your new identity is strong and focused. This is also connected to why life speeds up as you get older. When you are a child, every day is a brand new survival lesson, and your brain is desperately trying to save every detail until the delete button is pressed. Once you become an adult and your survival routines are set, the primal ledger becomes much more selective. It stops recording the mundane and starts deleting the boring parts of your life. Deleting your childhood is the first and largest energy-saving move your brain ever makes. We often think of ourselves as modern, but our brains are still running on prehistoric logic. We use phones, medicine, and the internet, but we are still the same creatures who wiped with leaves, gave birth standing up, and rested by squatting. We wonder why we can't remember being 2 years old, but we forget that our ancestors lived in a world where remembering too much could be a death sentence. If an ancient child remembered the absolute safety of the womb while a leopard was stalking the camp, they wouldn't have the survival instinct to climb a tree or run for the fire. Our brains are still optimized for how ancient humans survived in prehistory. We are the only human species left because we are masters of mental optimization. We are designed to move forward. We delete the junk data of our infancy so we can fill our heads with the maps of the forest, the patterns of the stars, and the behavior of the deadliest animals. We managed to survive without dentists or soap because our brains didn't waste energy on nostalgia. The missing years in your head are not a hole, they are the solid foundation of your survival. So, when you look back and see nothing but a blank space where your earliest memories should be, don't feel like you've lost something. You haven't. You've been upgraded. Your brain is a primal ledger, and it decided that you didn't need those old, heavy memories of being a helpless baby to face the modern world. It deleted the infant version of you to make room for the language, the logic, and the survival skills you use every day. It hid your helplessness from you, just as it hides your final 60 minutes or your transition into the sleep world. We are a species built on the foundation of what we have forgotten. Your missing years are the silent proof that your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do, protecting you from the past so you can survive the future. Your ancestors are still watching over you, and your brain is still the greatest survival tool ever made. I explain things simply. Thanks for watching. If you want to know more about the weird things your brain does to keep you alive, like why you can't remember falling asleep or what we did all day with no jobs, check out my other videos. Don't forget to subscribe. And remember, some things are better left forgotten.